All right, everybody. Good evening. Hope you guys are doing well on this Victory Monday. We're still having a good time here. We're still enjoying it. But now let's take a look at the win from the Pro Football Focus perspective. Let's see what they thought of our players. Let's see what they thought of our game. We're doing the defense now. We did the offense earlier today. Go check out that video if you missed it. And again, I want to stress this is not to necessarily say that Pro Football Focus is always right or that they're always wrong. We just want to see what they have to say. We just want to see if it lines up with what we think we saw out there. And if it didn't, how did it not align? So let's just start with the overall defensive grades here. We actually had a lot of players get snaps in this game because there was a little bit of garbage time. So there's a lot here that is kind of meaningless because it was only a handful of snaps, like Drake Thomas, Fionn Hicks, Ty Okada, D. Williams, Tyrese Knight all got 7 snaps or fewer. So we're not really going to learn a lot there. So of the players who played a lot, the big shining star is Derick Hall. And I don't think that should come as a surprise to anybody. The guy scored a touchdown, right? The guy might not score another touchdown in his NFL career. So special moment for him. And not only did he have the touchdown, he also had 4 quarterback pressures by PFF metrics. So even though they gave him this atrocious tackling grade and a below average run defense grade, his effectiveness rushing the passer and his touchdown still get him the crown. And, I can't say too much bad about that, right? He's here to rush the passer. 4 pressures in a game against Atlanta's really good offensive line. I can cook with that. I can make things happen with that. So yeah, Derick Hall is the king of the day, and I think that's well deserved. I think that he is headed for a. Yeah, I mean, I want to act like he's already broken out, right? He's already broken out, but he might be headed towards a Pro Bowl caliber season. It might be a double-digit sack season. I know he didn't get one yesterday, but playing really good football. The next standout player on the defense would have been Julian Love, which, I mean, he had an interception, right? You get an interception, you're probably going to be well regarded by the graders. But the thing that stands out here is they gave him credit in every category. They gave him credit as a run defender, as a tackler, 7 tackles, 2 assists, and 0 missed tackles. And coverage grade was well above average, too. And the bronze medal would probably go to Byron Murphy here in his first game back. He played a clean game, picked up a pressure, couple of tackles, couple of assisted tackles. I think he had a stop in the backfield as well. So that is something that'll make us feel good. I think that Byron Murphy has shown that he does have a downwind effect on the entire defense when he's out there. It's not just his numbers, it's not just his performance, it's the effect he has on everybody else. It is very, very significant. All right. Excuse me. Boye Mafe graded out well. He had obviously the game-ending sack. I know the game wasn't over, but it really felt like it was over after Mafe got that strip. So you do that, you're definitely going to be pretty well regarded by any sane grading system. Nothing too stand out other than that. The no missed tackles for him. And you look at the top of this list, nobody's missing tackles. The only missed tackle here is actually Derick Hall. And we'll get to why that's the case in a minute here, because believe me, we miss tackles. Roy Robertson Harris graded out well, so that's encouraging. They gave him a pressure, a couple of tackles. I would say that was a very successful first game for him. And if he can continue to contribute like that and get on the field like that, then we might actually have something here. Josh Joby, very competitive game that he played. Well graded all around, mostly for his tackling and run defense stuff, but even the coverage grade is not terrible. Big Cat graded out okay. They didn't love his pass rush, which I disagree with personally, but it's whatever. I'm not going to hang on that too much. And Dodson, now, I want to stress this. I think PFF is missing the boat with Dodson, but I don't think he played a terrible game this week. I just thought it was lacking against the run. There was some stuff he did in coverage that I thought was good, which is why I think that it's pretty backwards that Dodson gets a better run defense grade than coverage grade. But That would kind of end the list of guys who played above average, right? Now you're getting down to the guys who are more average, like Mike Morris. Although I do want to say this. Last 2 weeks, Mike Morris has been fairly decently graded by PFF. So they think that he's at least playable now. They didn't think that earlier this year. They were giving him terrible grades for a while. And I noticed that, and I think there's some value there. Maybe not as much now that we have Roy, but I think Mike Morris still has something he can do on this team, and I want him to get a chance to do it, but he's got to earn it. So the fact that he's gotten 2 good grades in a row, or at least passable grades in a row, notable. Jaron Reed, kind of middling, but I don't expect him to bring it every single week. He played adequately. That's cool. Didn't miss any tackles. Draymond still can't get no love. Plays his best game as a Seahawk. Barely grades out average. 60.4. I'm going to step in there and say that's probably not reflective of reality for him. I think he was clearly better than average in that game. His pass rush impact alone, where he was our leading pass rusher in this game in terms of pressure, should have warranted better than that. But whatever. Pro Football Focus going to Pro Football Focus sometimes. Kayvon Wallace, about average, mostly because of the coverage grade not being good. I feel like a lot of that was when the game was basically over, though. Kobe Bryant gets an interception, but still gets a pretty lackluster grade. They didn't like his run defense. They did like his tackling, though. Coverage grade not so great, which usually when you get an interception, your coverage grade is going to be pretty good. But I don't know how the sausage is made, right? I don't know how the Pro Football Focus sausage is made sometimes. I just eat the sausage. Devin Witherspoon, really poor. Mostly because he couldn't tackle. And this is what I was talking about earlier. All the players who were missing tackles in this game are at the bottom of the grading list, which I guess makes sense. But Devin Witherspoon couldn't tackle, and really he couldn't cover. I didn't realize it was this bad until I looked at these numbers. Initially, I thought Witherspoon played fine, and I think that his struggles are understandable given the fact that he's without Woolen, without Brown, without Jenkins, but that's probably the worst game of Witherspoon's career, and that's not a good look. I mean, 3 missed tackles for a guy who's supposed to be one of your best tacklers. Hankins, awful grade. Luckily, he didn't have to play that much, but I need Hankins to be better when he's not playing this much, right? He got 17 snaps in this game. You should be able to play a little bit efficiently when you're only playing 17 snaps in a game instead of 40. Baker, awful grade, mostly because of the run defense, but nothing was really good with him, right? And I think Pro Football Focus actually kind of caught it here, right? Because what I've been getting on Pro Football Focus with lately is they don't seem to understand how to grade linebackers appropriately for run fits. I feel like they kind of caught it here with Baker, but they're not catching it with Dodson. I don't know what the difference is. But obviously Baker's not helped by the fact that he missed a tackle, wasn't good in pass rush, wasn't good in coverage. But I find that to be really interesting that they caught it with Baker, but not Dodson. Pritchett, really bad because he can't tackle and because he can't. I mean, he's battling, right? Pritchett's battling. I'm not hating on him at all. This is not anything I'm going to hate on anybody for. He's a rookie. What, a 5th round, 6th round rookie? What do you expect? And then Tyrese Knight, like I said, played 7 snaps. Doesn't mean anything. Terribly graded, but it doesn't really mean much when you only play 7 snaps in garbage time. And that's it for the overall grades. Some interesting stuff that would be really interesting to unpack. So, when I'm looking at these charts from Pro Football Focus, here's the first thing that stands out to me. We're going over to the run defense category. And you can see that 7 of our 11 missed tackles were in run support. Witherspoon had 1. Hall had 1. Kobe Bryant had 1. Hankins, Knight, Baker, Pritchett. It just keeps adding up. I would note, though, that Witherspoon was actually one of our best run defenders in this game, despite the issues that he may have had. But the thing that kind of stands out to me here is still the only player with multiple run stops in this game was Jaron Reed, a lineman. Right? Like the linebackers, not a single non-Jaron Reed player had double-digit run stops in this game. And I know that it's a different defense, and I know that we hold players to different standards, but man, I kind of miss the days of a Bobby Wagner, where I know Bobby by the end of his career was a flawed player that wasn't really doing all that much great anymore. But I think that you have to say that Wagner, at the very least, he was giving you run stops consistently every game. He was giving you 4, 5, 6, 7. He was all over the place, and he was going to make those run stops. And our linebackers just can't consistently do it, which is why, again, I don't know why Dodson gets a break on his run defense grade when he has one run stop on 28 opportunities, and Baker actually gets punished because he had 0. The difference between 1 and 0 in this context is not that big. I know he had the missed tackle and Dodson didn't, but I don't know. Something's not right. Pass rush stuff, I already touched on this. Draymond Jones leads the way with 5, still doesn't get graded all that well, which someone make it make sense. Mafe has 3, Reed has 3, Murphy has 1, Hall has 4, RRH has 1. Good to see him get on the scoreboard. Lenny has 2, and Dodson has 1 QB pressure. So, I mean, we outpressured the Falcons by a long shot. 20 pressures, 3 sacks. 12 hurries, 5 hits. I mean, we got to Cousins, and when we got to him, we brought him down. We didn't let him get away. Not that Cousins is really capable of getting away from anything right now because of his leg, but, I mean, this is pretty clearly painting the picture of a pass rush doing its job against a good Falcons offensive line. So I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm feeling like things are coming around here. I do notice that Witherspoon was only sent on the corner blitz twice in this game. I felt like it was more watching the game, so I find that to be a little bit interesting. Just perception versus reality. When it comes to this kind of stuff, I trust PFF to be objective. So I don't think they're wrong here, but I find that to be kind of interesting regardless. All right, now let's take a look at coverage stuff here. And this, I mean, we gave up a decent chunk of yards in coverage, so I'm not surprised the number's kind of hefty. But I'm looking at this stuff here. So let's start with the good stuff here. Julian Love plays 40 coverage snaps and only gives up 6 yards on 1 catch. Josh Joby gets targeted 7 times, 3 catches, 32 yards. Sign me up for that. I mean, wow. Now you're cooking. And I don't want to say that I think Joby needs to take somebody's job or anything like that, but you got to say, you probably would have expected him to get picked on just by default. He did not allow himself to get picked on. That is less than 5 yards a target. Dodson, 1 catch, 13 yards on 2 targets. Fine, whatever. Bunch of guys who didn't get targeted. Kobe Bryant, and this is why Kobe didn't get a very good coverage grade despite getting the pick. 4 targets, 4 catches, 39 yards. He wasn't even being targeted on the interception because the pass was overthrown. I get that. I respect that. I think there's some value in maybe not giving full credit for that, but it's still kind of tough. Jerome Baker, 5 targets, 24 yards. I can live with that. I'm not upset about that. Pritchett, 5 targets, 5 catches, 53 yards, a touchdown. Not unexpected. Kayvon Wallace got a terrible coverage grade, which is weird when he only had 1 catch for 9 yards. I mean, it doesn't seem that bad, but oh boy. I'm interested to see what Pro Football Reference thinks. Because according to Pro Football Focus, Devin Witherspoon, 9 targets, 7 catches, 70 yards. I did not know it was that bad. And again, I'm not here to kill him because I get that their circumstances are not ideal because you don't have Woolen and you don't have Brown, you don't have Jenkins, but man. Probably the worst game of Witherspoon's career. He just couldn't get anything going, and I didn't think it was that bad watching the game live. But he'll be better. He'll be better. We're going to get better players out there soon. But notable to shout out the fact that of all the guys on this team, he got picked on more than anybody. He was targeted more. He gave up more catches, gave up more yards. And most of it was Yak, too, by the way. So maybe we can give him a little bit of a break for that, right? Because Yak is not just on the guy in coverage, but it's still pretty ugly, especially because we know he was missing tackles that created some of that Yak. Special teams real quick here. Again, I usually just go through this real quick. Chenault, Knight, Derick Young, Morris, Brady Russell were the standouts overall. the guys who disappointed, Bobo. So that just highlights how rough a game he had, Thomas and Wallace. All right. That's it for Pro Football Focus this week. See you guys later. Go Hawks.